Hey everyone, welcome back to 996 Howl and one last video to end this season. Obviously, second annual Howl Awards. First awards, pretty good. One of the players was on pretty much every list, but this year, that player takes a complete and opposite 180 compared to last awards. These are always fun. In the future, I would hope to get the community involved, but as the channel grows, it's just my opinion and my bias. And obviously, the last award, the Howl Award, is just my favorite player on the team for this season. But let's get into it. A lot of interesting things this season. But yeah, it was a teardown rebuild season, so not a lot of excitement. So we got to work hard to find some diamonds in the rough and be excited for some parts of this pretty much miserable season. So let's get into it. The first award, Best Forward. Now, this one was pretty easy. I'm sure you guys could all name the four nominees for this one. Fifth honorable mention. So, first nomination, Clayton Keller, Nick Schmaltz, Travis Boyd, and Barrett Hayden. Honorable mention to Phil Kessel. If he got number 400 in the last game of the season, for sure would be a nominee, but, the last spot goes to Barrett Hayden. So the winner for Best Forward is pretty obvious. Clayton Keller, just a tremendous season. We're going to be talking about him so much this video, so we'll save it. I won't spoil it. We'll save it. But Clayton Keller, the best forward. I don't know if you can argue with that. Maybe Nick Schmaltz, but we all know Clayton Keller is the engine for Nick Schmaltz. But, Nick Schmaltz also had a great season at forward. Next award will be Best Defenseman. Top four nominees are Dyson Mayo, Shane Gostisbehere, J.J. Moser, and Anton Strawman. Notice Jacob Chikrin missing from the Best Defenseman nominee. Honorable mention, probably nobody. I think those are the top four. Even Strawman's a bit of a stretch here. So let's get into it. I didn't want to write his name down. It's too hard. But Shane Gostisbehere, the best defenseman for the Coyotes this season, having a bounce back year, coming from, Philadelphia, where he had so many injuries. The Philadelphia Flyers didn't even want him, just gave him away to the Coyotes, along with a second round pick in this upcoming draft. He just had a tremendous season. I believe the first defenseman to get over 50 points on the Coyotes since 15-16 when Ekman Larson did it. So the fact that we haven't had a defenseman get over 50 points in almost 6 years, and Gostisbehere's first season in the desert manages to do it. It was a great, trade, not a trade one for one, but a great replacement for Ekman Larson. Just everything Ekman Larson did offensively, where it dried up last season and years before that, Shane Gostisbehere came in, became that offensive defenseman we needed. Too bad that he couldn't do it alongside Jacob Chikrin. We'll get into that later. But I just think Gostisbehere was the best defenseman. There wasn't many offensive defensemen on the Coyotes this year. He was pretty much the only one. A couple guys got goals here and there. But I think, without a question, Gostisbehere was the best defenseman for this team. Next up, going a bit on a sour note here, most disappointing. Couldn't even fit the word disappointing on this card. That's a disappointment for me. Nominees are Alex Galchenyuk, Victor Soderstrom, Jacob Chikrin, and Matthias Michelli. Bit of a surprise there. So the most disappointing player this season, what a 180 from last awards. It is Jacob Chikrin. 7 goals, 14 assists, and 47 games played. Obviously, he had a big injury that kept him out since before the trade deadline and after it. But also his postseason comments, if you didn't read them the past couple of days, he really doesn't know what his future holds. He would be okay with a trade. He'd be okay without a trade. He loves Arizona, but, the thought is gnawing at his brain that he only has 3 years left here. He wants to compete for the playoffs. He doesn't really want to commit to another teardown and rebuild like the team is going through. So, he has a lot of concerns and he's aired them out publicly, and it's a bit of a huge disappointment considering, the end of last season. I was so in on Chychrun. He scored 20 goals. He was a leader on the team. He was competitive night in and night out. He was geared up to be the next captain of the team, and then all those trades happened in the summer. He came into the season just struggling to score, not himself at all on the ice or off the ice. And to hear these comments being made is not really captain material, I feel. And honestly, it's a signal to me that they most likely will trade him in the offseason. Even hearing Andre Tourigny and Bill Armstrong's postseason comments, whenever they talk about the core players, it's always Keller, Schmaltz, Lawson Krause, Barrett Hayden, J.J. Moser. They always say those names, and not one of them mentioned Jacob Chychrun's name at all in their postseason conferences. So that to me is an indicator that, maybe they're unsure of where to go with Chychrun, and maybe they do unload him for a huge haul. But yeah, a disappointing season for Chychrun. The other nominees, Galchenyuk, 7 goals, 14 assists. 6 goals, 15 assists in 60 games played. Only 6 goals in 60 games for Galchenyuk. I expected him to do a bit more than that. He needed to be an offensive dynamo, show that one-timer, but barely did that at all. He played more of a shutdown role near the end of the season. Soderstrom, 0 points in 16 games when called up. Was expecting a step forward for Soderstrom. I honestly had him to be on the starting lineup and to start the season with the Coyotes. He really didn't do that. If anything, he played 1 game or just got sent down immediately after training camp. I expected him and Hayden to really be mainstays on this team. And then Michelli, just, 1 goal, 5 assists in 23 games played. A young, flashy player. He was getting top 6 minutes. He had the right environment for him. Just couldn't put it together consistently. I'm really high on Michelli. I hope he, works out hard in this summer and comes back next season for sure in the top 6 and makes a point that he demands and stamps his stamp to be in the NHL next season. An NHL regular is what I really want to say. So after going from Miss Disappointing, we'll go to Most Surprising. Not a lot of surprises, to be honest. Nominees are Nick Ritchie, J.J. Moser, Clayton Keller, and Nick Schmaltz. I actually forget who won this one. Oh, there we go. Most surprising is Nick Schmaltz. It was between him and Keller, to be honest, but Keller's all over this award ceremony. Nick Ritchie, after the trade deadline, he had 10 goals, 4 assists in 24 games played. That's pretty good. That's about like a 35-goal pace. I thought Nick Ritchie fit very well with the Coyotes, performing and producing way better than he did on the Maple Leafs, and was not coming and didn't come as advertised. A lot of fan bases around the league said this guy's slow as molasses. He has no energy. He does everything wrong. He's not an NHL player, but all this guy needed to do was put his stick on the ice in front of the net, and he got a lot of goals. 10 goals in 24 games played. Some of the other nominees here, J.J. Moser, a second-round pick just last summer, came in, a steady defenseman, always looking to get pucks on net, and he does it very quickly, doesn't wind up for a slapper, just tosses the puck on net, always making the right plays. He got injured, and when he got injured, we really felt that as a team, the defensive structure was just abysmal. Did not like Capobianco and Dineen as a replacement for Moser. Kolyachonok did alright, but really miss J.J. Moser, and I'm excited for next season and what he brings to the table next season. Clayton Keller, obviously a huge surprise, but we've seen it before. His rookie year was pretty much what we expect from Clayton Keller, but the surprising part is that he got to that rookie performance and eclipsed it. But not surprising that he still has seasons like that in him. Clayton Keller does. Next award, the best game. Obviously, the game of hockey is the best, but the best game the Coyotes played this season. Number 1, November 6th against Seattle. in a 5-4 victory. Obviously, their first victory of this season. March 5th versus Ottawa in an 8-5 win. That was the game where Nick Schmaltz got 7 points. Then the next game, March 8th against Detroit, 9-2 victory. The Coyotes, the 2021-2022 Arizona Coyotes, scoring 9 goals. You should definitely feel bad about that. And then lastly, the last game of the season, April 29th versus Nashville, 5-4 victory. A lot of good ones here. Not a lot of good games in the season, but, in this nomination, a lot of good games. But we're obviously going to give it to the send-off of Glendale. What a game. Down 4-0 immediately in the game, like 4 minutes in. Down 4-0. The building was packed. They were loud. And slowly, O'Brien and Imama and McBain and Smith throwing their body around, getting sort of the energy back in the building. And then Gostisbehere scores paired with that fourth line. And then they just kept going along, kept staying in the game, kept doing the right things, and they were getting rewarded. And after each goal, the building got louder and louder until Gostisbehere gets the game winner, the 5th goal for the Coyotes, and the building just erupted. And it was such a feel-good story. You had Biz Nasty, claiming that the Coyotes will win the game when they're down 4-0 or 4-1 at intermission. He said that the Coyotes will come back and win the game. And they did. It was a magical game. Just like, that first win of the season against Seattle. That was another great game. That game would have been the award winner if not for the last game. But, it was great to see the Coyotes, score a lot of goals against Detroit. And Ottawa, that Ottawa game where Schmaltz got 7 points. They were up 4-0, blew a 4-0 lead. Then they were losing 5-4, and then in the third period, scored 4 unanswered goals to win 8-5. That was a crazy game. And then, scoring 9 goals. I have not seen that happen for the Coyotes ever. Like, for sure, in a very long time. And for sure, if ever, I've never seen that. Next is the Hard Hat Award. The type of player who puts his lunch in his lunch pail, goes to work, puts on that work hard hat, puts on the working boots, as Tyson Nash likes to say. The nominees are Clayton Keller, Anton Strawman, Nick Schmaltz, and Barrett Hayden. Hayden, I'll talk a lot about Hayden after I give the award out, but we're obviously going to give it to Clayton Keller, the Hard Hat Award. So best forward, hardest working Coyotes player, coming in every game competitive, coming in every game commanding the puck, coming in every game consistently and making an impact. He's not ghosting. He had very little games where he ghosted. He just wanted to make an impact every game and be the best he could be every game. And, he just dictated the pace for the Coyotes, the clear best player and best skill player on the team. And he finished at the top of the team in points, considering he missed the last, how many games did he play? 67 games, so he missed the last 15 games, if my math is correct. And he still finished at the top of the team. Just felt Keller had just a great year. He got that A on his jersey, and he led the team every night. And a lot of players really looked to Keller to, how are we going to play tonight? If Keller's on, I want to be on too. And, when his injury happened, the wind got knocked out of the sails for the Coyotes. They went on a losing streak. A lot of the players didn't have their mojo due to what happened with Keller, and even the fan base. It kind of like, even me personally, I just felt dejected after that injury. It was a horrific injury to witness live, especially. But, love Clayton Keller. He really took a huge step this season, becoming a leader on the team, and maybe he will be the next captain for the team. Barrett Hayden, I want to mention, in the post-season conference for Andre Tourigny, he mentioned Hayden a lot and the big step he took this season. He overcame a mid-season injury. Management and coaching staff went to Barrett Hayden and said, "You're too muscular. You need to lose some muscle to gain some speed and some breakaway speed and some separation speed from your opponents." So, it's a tough thing to hear for like a man and a young man to be like, you're too muscular, you need to lose some muscle to gain some leanness because you're carrying too much mass here. He was about 210 pounds of pure muscle. He's not a big, overweight guy, Barrett Hayden, but muscular guy, toned down his muscle, became leaner, became faster when he came back from his injury. He was using his body a lot more compared to the Tocchet years, and using body position to get pucks out of the opposition's hands. He became a great defensive centerman. Andre Tourigny said when he was assistant coach for Team Canada in the World Juniors, he would not have expected such a defensive performance from Barrett Hayden, and especially to be one of their top penalty killers on the team. Even I personally, I always thought of Barrett Hayden as a top six offensive only type of guy, but he really made strides to round out his game. He's not one dimensional anymore. And he put in some points too. He got 10 goals, 14 assists in 60 games played. I mean, before then, he only played 20 games under Rick Tocchet in one season, and then in the next season, only 14 games. So to me, to play 60 games in the NHL, to show ownership, management, and the coaching staff that he's an NHL player and he's only going to get better and work hard in the offseason to take an even bigger step. All I wanted from Hayden this year was to be an NHL player. It got off to a rocky start. He got sent to Tucson and then got called up, got an injury, but came back better than ever. And at the end of it, he was the number one centerman and the number one penalty killer once Clayton Keller got injured. So let's get into it. The Howl Award, a complete biased award for my favorite player of this season. The awards are Nick Schmaltz, nominees Nick Schmaltz, Clayton Keller, Barrett Hayden, and J.J. Moser. Really loved Moser's game. I really hope he takes a stride next season and puts it together. I really think he could be a great underrated defenseman in the league and for the Coyotes. But, the Howl Award has to go to Clayton Keller. Just an unbelievable season. He didn't ghost. He became a penalty killer. He became a great two-way type of player. It was his first season to finish with a plus-minus of +3, of a plus-minus in the positives for the first time in his career on such a talently amiss type of team, on a complete teardown, a complete rebuild. He comes out positive. Like I said, he earned that letter on his jersey as alternate captain. He was the leader of the pack. He got career high in goals for 28 goals. His previous career high was 23 goals. In terms of points, he was 2 points shy of his career high, where he had 65 in 82 games played in his rookie year. But this season, he had 63 points in 67 games played. So he was on pace to eclipse his rookie totals. He was just a dynamic player, one of the best forward seasons I've seen for the Coyotes in a really long time. And even seeing him on the broadcast in that last game during the second intermission, just a class act. He just always wants to get better. And in terms of his rehab, he's already rehabbed ahead of schedule. And they're saying in 3 weeks he could get back on the ice and start practicing on the ice and working out on the ice and just getting back to that NHL level that he showed us this season. He's only on one crutch right now. He used to be on 2 crutches, but if he comes back from this injury even better and he overcomes that adversity and he just continues that leadership role and just leads on the ice the team in terms of goal scoring and production and making players around him better. He made Nick Schmaltz into a great player. And even when Clayton Keller went down, I don't think I mentioned this before for Nick Schmaltz, but Nick Schmaltz had a career year thanks to Keller. And when Keller got injured, Nick Schmaltz surprisingly still continued a pretty good pace. He finished with 12 points in the last 15 games without Clayton Keller. So Keller and Schmaltz are buddy on the ice and off the ice. And, when Keller went down, Schmaltz continued to carry that essence that Keller had on the team. Unfortunately, no one else did. It was just Nick Schmaltz. But glad to see Clayton Keller had a huge impact on Schmaltz. Even Travis Boyd he had a career year. He got he had sorry, he had 17 goals. I had to do a double take. Could not believe he scored 17 goals and 18 assists this season. His next career high was 5 goals and 15 assists with the Washington Capitals in 2018-19. So Boyd earned an extension, and that line of Boyd, Keller, and Schmaltz was just dynamic, and it just fit well. Boyd would play defensively, and even maybe Boyd's defensive play, got into the play of Keller and Schmaltz. Seeing Boyd on the penalty kill, seeing how hard he works defensively, it creeped up in Keller's game. He was great on the penalty kill. The first year where he was a mainstay on the penalty kill, and then when Keller got injured, Nick Schmaltz found himself on the penalty kill too. Like, imagine what Rick Tocchet is thinking when he sees Nick Schmaltz on the penalty kill. I felt like Clayton Keller made a lot of players better this year, especially his line mates and Schmaltz and Boyd. And he's really growing into a man and a great forward, and the best forward for this team, and maybe one of the best skilled forwards in history for the Coyotes. Hopefully there's more coming in Dylan Guenther, and this draft coming up. They pick players on par or even better than Clayton Keller, but he needs to continue this performance. He can't take those steps back like he did under the Rick Tocchet era. Hopefully continues to get better. So I think that's it. About a 22-minute video. It's really hot in here. The jerseys did not fall. I was really expecting for these jerseys to fall behind me. So that's it for me. Finally, the end. We could close a chapter on this season. The next video will be a lottery simulator where I get drunk. So that's it for me. Thank you for watching. If you like what you see, spread the word. And as always, thank you for your support.